In this video, we are going to see the effective method of managing the staff advances in Teleprime. Because if we normally see the scenario, we can just pass a journal entry that is staff advances as debit and cash is credit whenever they take the advance. We record it as a current asset or prepayment, which we have to receive again. But that is a simple treatment which has a lot of flaws, that you cannot keep track of each individual employee that is only gone in the journal ledgers, which can be extracted as a total in display and accounts books and ledgers. But there it will have a combined ledger account. So it's very difficult to track all the employees. So instead, we want to allocate it to a particular employee name so that whenever they took advance and whenever they are paying us or asking us to deduct it from their salary in installments, we can easily keep the track of it. We have to see and find out that kind of method. So if we decide, like some companies do, create all the ledgers separately for each specific employee, but then when we extract any balance sheet or profit and loss report, it will show us a huge list of ledgers and the details about it. So we will use an advanced feature to manage this, and that is cost centers. What this does is we can do the simple treatment of like we entered the journal entry, but at the same time we can create different cost centers which will not affect the ledgers, but will also enable you to keep the track of separate advances and what installments they are paying against it. We can keep the track separately, and also it will not over occupy all the ledgers that we create. Now to enable the cost centers in Teleprime, it's very simple. Just go to the masters and click on create. And once we click on create, we can see some details, but we can't see cost centers here. So we just write cost centers right here. As we can see here, cost center is there, but it's disabled. So hit enter. It will ask you that you need to enable the cost center feature because this is an advanced feature. You want to enable now? Yes. And now we can create the cost centers. Now similarly, what we will do is we will also enable the cost category. Just go back without creating anything and just write here cost again and just write cost category. Simply enable this as well. Primary cost category exists by default. Do you want to alter or create a new? So click on create new, and I'll just name it as salary payable. Salary payable. Now I want to include all of the ledgers in that cost category, whether I want to include the revenue items or non-revenue items, all should be allowed. So I'll change both of them to yes, hit accept. And now let's create another category. Since we can see a new screen now, I'll just name it as staff advances. And again, I'll change both of them to yes. Accept. And let's go back to create the cost centers now. If you want to create multiple cost centers, just remember that instead of creating it directly from here, this is all for the single ledger and single cost center creation. And we want to click on chart of accounts. I know this is confusing, right? It is not chart of accounts, but actually all the options they have given for multiple ones is in chart of accounts. So we can click on chart of accounts and we can switch the categories to the cost center, hit enter, and click on multi masters right hand corner. Just click here and click on multi create, which will take you to this particular screen. So the cost center is set to all items. I'll just select that, and I'll just mention that for the salary payable we want to create 3 employees. I'll just select Saad here, which is primary. Again select salary payable, Farhan, primary, and again I'll select salary payable, write salary payable, and just write Umair here, primary. And similarly for staff advances, I'll create this same 3 employee categories: Saad, staff advances, Farhan, and staff advances again, and Umair. As you can see, the multiple cost center creation is very simple, and it's so much time saving. Instead, if you create it from single ledger, it will take you a lot of time. Now press Ctrl A to save. And as we can see here, it says that Saad already exists. This means that when we are trying to create the 2 cost centers, we want to differentiate it in a name a little bit. So the other ones were saved. Salary payables were saved, and staff advances, we need to create some new ones. So go to multi-masters again, click on multiple create, all items, just right here staff advances. I'll just mention the full name now. It goes under primary, again staff advances, mention the full name, goes under primary, and then we have is staff advances again and goes under primary. Press Ctrl A, and that's how we can save both of the cost categories and the cost centers under it. And finally, after that, we will just go back and create a simple ledger of staff advances from the masters and single ledger. We want to click on create and click on ledger and just write a simple name, that is staff advances, and this goes under current assets. Not applicable, more details. You need to click on more details on your right to see the cost center option, because we need to enable that, just remember. So click on more details here and cost center applicability. If you want to enable this, just double click here, write yes, and just check once if it is enabled again, just to make sure, and press Ctrl A. Similarly, I'll just create a ledger for salary payable. It will go under current liabilities, not applicable, and similarly I'll just enable the cost center option here. So click on more details on our right, and cost center applicability, wherever it says no, I'll just change it to yes. Double click here first and then change it to yes. Ctrl A. Now let's recall before moving forward. First step was enabling the cost category and cost center features. Second step was creating the cost category. Third step was creating the cost centers. And fourth step was creating the ledgers while enabling the cost centers as well, the options. So now we can finally move to our entries. Now let's suppose that an employee comes to you and he wants to take advance before the month end from his salary, and he wants it to be deducted in future salary. So how will we treat and how will we book this voucher? Let's go to Gateway of Tele and click on vouchers. And since we are paying all of the payments by bank or cash, so I'll use the payment voucher for that. So just select here, let's say Standard Chartered Bank. I'm paying from that, and we are paying staff advances. I'll just write here staff advances, and let's say that we are paying $500. Hit enter, and that goes for staff advances. Choose the category here, just write the name that we want to allocate this to Farhan, and hit enter. We are back on the main screen. Hit enter again. You can allocate all the transaction type and check details, whatever you want. So you can mention it here. Afterwards, just go to the narration and you can write here staff advances by Farhan for the month of January. Just don't be concerned with the date right now, because we are using the educational version. That means 1st, 2nd and 31st are the only dates allowed to be entered in educational version. So I'll keep all the dates to same. So Control A. Let's again book any other voucher for some other employee. And let's suppose that this one is paid in cash. Again, we are paying staff advances and we have paid $300 to this person. Again, staff advances, we want to book it for Umair. $300, hit enter, enter. And now we can mention the narration here, staff advances paid to Umair against salary for the month of January, just like that, and press Ctrl A to save. Now let's suppose that the month is ended now and I need to deduct these advances from their salary, and each employee salary is $5,000. So normally what we do is salary is actually recorded as accrual, which is a liability. That means the salary is due in January, so it is recorded in January to be recorded as expense, but it is not being paid yet. It is normally paid by the next of month on, let's say, if the salary is for January, it will be paid on 2nd February, 3rd February, just like that. So if we want to record it in January, what we will do is we will debit the salary expense, but since it is not paid yet, we will credit it as salary payable, which is called accrued expenses. So for this kind of accrual entry, we will always use a journal. I'll just write here salary expense. We need to create one. It will be recorded as indirect expenses. Type of ledger not applicable rounding method, and press Ctrl A to save. Now the totals for both of them, if you want to record it at the same entry, is 10,000 because 5,000 salary is for each employee. So this makes a total of 2 to 10,000, which will immediately take you to the cost centers. But just remember that we don't want to allocate the cost category here. So I'll just go back. Salary expense ledger is already created. We need to edit it a little bit, so you can directly do it from here. Just make sure the cursor is here and it is selected. It should blink like that. Press Ctrl Enter and press more details from the right. Cost center applicability, I'll just set it this one to, double click here, set it to no, press Ctrl A, and now when we enter, it will just directly go to the second line where it asks for the credit. So I'll just credit here salary payable, and from credit we will enter staff advances. And let's suppose that each employee has requested you to just deduct $100 from their salary each month. So for 2 employees, $200 will be the total reduction. Hit enter. And the category we want to allocate is staff advances so that we can properly keep the record. Otherwise, it will be very confusing for you that they have took random advances amount and now we are deducting $100 each month. So it's very difficult to track until we use the cost centers. So Farhan 100 and Umair 100. So these are the staff advances record. Hit enter. And the credit side will be salary payable. And again, we have allocated and enabled the cost centers with it. So as soon as I select this, it will show us the remaining amount to be entered here, which is 9,800 after deducting the advances, because we need to pay less now. We will offset some in advance, so we will pay less. Enter. It will take you to the cost center category where we will allocate it to the salary payable. I'll just select here salary payable. First one is Farhan. His total pending after deducting $100 from $5,000 salary is $4,900. And again for the other employee, which is Umair, 4,900, same. Hit enter, make sure the totals match 9,800. So 4,900 plus 4,900 is the same here. And in the narration, you can just simply write here salary for the month of January, because this is the final calculation. And press Ctrl A. And let's go back to the main menu now. And from here, I'll just go to display more reports, statement of accounts. And from here, we will extract the cost centers and then click on category summary. And here we can clearly see that the salary payable for both of them is 4,900 and 4,900, and they haven't collected any salary yet. So after deduction of advances, they have this salary as payable, and all the advances are recorded here that they have took these advances, and against that we have collected this as an advance. So the pending balance or closing balance is like this. Now let's see how these accounts will get settled. Suppose one employee came and took his salary. How will we book that? Let's see. I'll just simply go back to the main screen, and from here just click on vouchers and click on the journal entry. And not exactly journal entry, we'll go to payment in fact. And we are paying it from Standard Chartered Bank against salary payable. And the total pending is 9,800. I'll just write here for that and just mention salary payable here. And for Farhan, it's 4,900. Or let's say that we are only clearing for one salary payable, Farhan, and that's it. Hit enter, enter. You can allocate and define the details for the check reference and all. Hit enter. And just write here check number this paid against Farhan salary for the month of January. So let's press Ctrl A, add to save. And now if we go back to the same area, click on display more reports, click on statement of accounts, click on cost centers and category summary. Here we can clearly see that Farhan has took his salary. So 4,900 was total payable and he has took the salary. So closing balance is nil now, 0. And the other person, which is Umair, hasn't yet collected his salary. So the pending balance is showing right here. So as you can see, it's very easy to track not only advances, but all the salaries as well. Now let's check the benefit of it in the financial reports that we have just created the cost centers instead of creating the ledgers for each employees. So if I go back, click escape, hit escape, and we go to the gateway of Tally and click on profit and loss account, and we expand it to the detailed version. You can see that we have only recorded it as salary expense and there is no other ledgers showing right here for each individual employee. So it will mess it up a lot if we have created salary expenses for each individual employee. It would look very bad, especially if we have lots of employees. So that's the benefit of it, that in the financial reports, we only see the simple single ledger. So this is how you can manage the salary expenses and staff advances in Teleprime by using the cost centers. Just try this by yourself and I'll see you in the next one.